It's a pleasure to welcome Maria, and I will pass over to her, and hope you enjoy the session.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am, as Helen says, and thank you, Helen, for your introduction. Just to introduce myself further, I've worked for Citizens Advice now for over 20 years. Probably some of you aren't even 20 at the moment, but if you are, then you know that that's a reasonable period of time. And what fires people to come along and work for our organisation varies tremendously. So part of my presentation is to take you through some of the information that would be of use to you. And it also highlights that if you ever need our help, that you can actually come to us as well. We're an organisation that runs on between 22 and 24,000 volunteers. And that covers the span of England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. And the area where I come from, which is Lancashire West, we cover an area, that covers probably the area that you're at university at or where you actually permanently reside. So that's Skelmersdale, Leyland, Chorley, Wyre district, and we have a presence in Blackburn. As Helen said, feel free to ask any questions as you go along, because this might be something that you've heard of, you're not quite sure about, or you might need to just take part in the session today to find out more. So, next slide that I've got, what do we do? So if you haven't heard of us before, you might have heard, your parents or a relative mention that they've engaged with Citizens Advice. We're an organisation, we're a charity, which is, a lot of people think that we are a government agency, and we're not, we're a charity, we're independent. So anybody that comes to us will know that they will get independent advice. It's impartial and free, and of course, above everything else, it's confidential. So anybody that comes to use our services, they can be assured of the confidentiality. So even if we knew somebody who was one of our clients, we could not, we're bound by the confidentiality of the organisation. And in the climate of today, we're also bound by the data protection. But people have lots of different problems, and they have problems that can be very straightforward or others that are very, very complex. But for every reason a client comes forward, they're wanting help or they're wanting information. There is one of our aims is not just about the providing and helping people, but also to be able to improve the policies and practices that we have. So things like, and you'll see things in the media, you've probably all heard of universal credit. And when that was first being released as a new benefit system into the country, the whole setup was completely wrong. And it's taken a lot longer to actually improve the way that universal credit has rolled out across the country. And even at this moment, there are things that are still not right. So one of the things that we do as an organisation, we automatically capture statistics on where people have been disadvantaged or unfair practices. We have specialist services that are provided, and as a charity, our money comes from a variety of streams. So we do have money that comes in from local government, but we have, and I'm sure this isn't going to be quite exciting for you, PensionWise, which is a pension service. It probably seems like many moons away that you'll be thinking about pensions, but we have things like debt advice, and we also have digital access in community settings. So although I don't know which particular courses that you are following, just to say that if you are thinking about going into law and that's the pathway that you're wanting to go to, then that might be a good reason to actually volunteer as an assessor or advisor with us. if you actually advise for the service and you have, once you're competent, that can go towards a training contract, which is very important in this time and age because it gives an evidence trail of what you are actually doing. If you're in a computer field, then that's where we have the digital access. So that is an area where the public who don't have access to computer technology might come into our centres to be able to access maybe applying for bus passes or blue badges, or find out information that they need, or prepare CVs and print it off. I've got to say that, as you'll know, we're in COVID, so we're all working remotely, and unfortunately at this moment our digital access centre can't operate. So the volunteering opportunities that we have currently are around assessment and advice. The service, as I've said, has 22,000 plus trained volunteers and about 7,000 paid staff, and that's across, the whole of the UK. So our clients can contact us in a variety of ways. Predominantly at the moment, we're talking about telephone, but we are offering web chat, we're offering video calling, and we're also offering email advice. Just to say, because we're a free service, then things like phone calls are all free as well. So that gives you the sort of the mix on the Citizens Advice Service itself. We have people that in the organisation, usually age range 17 to 88 plus. It's not an old person's organisation. We need diversity to be able to represent the local community and engage with the public. We want to make a positive impact, and obviously the things that you will be able to get out of this, it's important you get out of it what you want. In the same way, we're able to work alongside you and help you grow in the actual area of advice. So you'll gain new skills and knowledge and build experience for employment. Some of our older people that come along might be retired and they're giving back to society. But for younger people such as yourself, it's about being able to gain those skills and knowledge-based activities that will actually help you engage with future employment. And this is very much recognised by local organisations and national organisations. Of course, some of you might be, I don't know, but you might be mature students, so you might have existing skills. And actually, we can take that on board when you come and you volunteer with us. What also happens, and probably is something that it underlies and underpins what we do, it can help people's health and well-being, the social interaction that we have. It can build confidence and self-esteem. It's quite often that, I get a younger age group where some people feel it's difficult, say, to talk on the phone in a professional capacity. They're probably fine on a phone on an individual basis, but it's a good thing to be able to interact with the public and actually engage with them, that they trust you and that they know that they're going to be helped in the situation that they present. You'll meet new people, range of backgrounds, ages, and you will make friends. There's no two ways about it. Maybe not so much as it would normally be. We're not in bureaus at the moment. Everything is working on a remote basis. But what I do provide is that every fortnight we have a meet and bleat session, and it gives people the opportunity to dip into, half an hour to an hour just to talk about anything really that is affecting them. It doesn't have to be a problem. It could be the weather. It could be what you're not being able to take part in because of the lockdown. But the point is, it's about keeping people connected, and it's very important that we know that people engage with us, not just purely to help the public, but to have some kind of social interaction with others who are actually organising and providing the services that we give. The training that we provide is very thorough. It's recognised. It's nationally agreed. It's agreed with our funders as well, so that they know that whatever money that they're giving to us actually is part of our quality service. And it is a quality service, because we want to make sure that any problem that comes to our attention can be addressed. And as a result of it, we give a lot of information and support and advice on a very, very broad area of subject areas. When we get back to normal, we will reimburse travel expenses at £5 per session. So as long as you've got train or bus tickets, or if you're in a car, you can actually claim mileage, and it'd be £5, as I said, for a session. Currently, again, we're all working remotely, so that isn't so much the burning issue. It's more about how, you feel that you can move forward and receive the training accordingly. There are broad roles that are available at Citizens Advice, but I would have to say to you, at the moment, things like admin is very difficult from a remote area, and we do have people that can provide admin facilities for us, but are more experienced in the business that we are doing. That doesn't mean it's always going to be like this. So this isn't bad news. It's just telling you realistically the way that it is. You need to be friendly and approachable. That is a given, because you're going to be dealing with such a broad range of people. You need to respect everybody's views and values and cultures, particularly those that are different to your own. We all come along with different backgrounds, different upbringings, different expectations, and therefore we have to ensure that the actual service that we provide is one that is open and we can engage with the clients appropriately. Some of our roles, you'll have to have basic IT, and in actual fact, I would say most of our roles are about basic IT skills. You need to be able to listen, have good written skills, because we have to keep case records for every client that we're dealing with. As a volunteer, you'll be engaging with me initially, and I will be bringing you into the organisation, introducing you to the service and the training for your role. And as time goes on, you'll be introduced to the support and supervision from supervisors when you're at a point that you're actually dealing with clients. There are lots of opportunities that are available, but initially I'd say you probably come through into mainstream, and then depending on what you're looking for, we'd be having that one-to-one dialogue as you're actually developing in your skills. Our public-facing roles usually take place Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but we do have provision of early evening on 2 nights and also Saturday morning. A lot depends on how much time you feel that you can commit to the organisation. So just to say to you, that's part of our one-to-one dialogue. You'll be working directly with me, and it just will be a natural thing. Hopefully I make the sessions as interesting and as fun as they can be, but a lot of the work will come down to yourself and your self-motivation. So how you get involved? Well, first of all, I would need to know, and I imagine this is going to be through Helen, if you are interested, I'll need you to complete a short online application form. It's not one that's going to take you hours and hours to complete, but there will also be policies you need to agree to, such as the volunteering plan that we have, confidentiality, and we need to take also information on diversity monitoring as an organisation. When you've completed an application form, and this is slightly different. Usually I have an introductory session, but in this instance, I'd be saying once I've got an application form back to you and you're wanting to proceed, I'll send off for references, and I'll have my eye on a start date for you, so that we can actually arrange online meetings once a week. And those meetings usually are at the very most an hour and a half. An hour is what I try to stick to, because I know that as an attendee, sometimes an hour is sufficient. You don't want to be listening to me for the best part of an hour, But on the other side of it, there are going to be things that you'll need to go through before you're actually in a position where you can start seeing the public. The weekly sessions, as I say, they're just, I have different sessions set up and to guide you. They're like building blocks for what you need to know that's absolutely important before you can actually start dealing with clients. Inclusive volunteering, you know, we should believe that this is available to everybody. And we encourage applications from everybody. There's nobody that we say that we won't consider. So I would just say to you, have a think about what we are able to do. We challenge discrimination and we promote equality and value diversity. You can have a look at what we stand for. If you were to have a look at our website, we have a national website, and that's citizensadvice.org.uk. And to say to you, if you go onto Citizens Advice website, you'll also see how you can self-help, because it'll have our main subject areas that are there. And a lot of people do self-help. They don't necessarily need to see us. But sometimes those situations are so broad and so complicated, it's really important that we're able to support them. I call it the domino effect. I'm sure that's not a term that you are unfamiliar with. It literally is a case of one thing can go wrong. And if we look at COVID at the moment, think about your own position. What's that having with regards to your studies, your student financing? And if something goes wrong, then effectively it can actually start to encroach in other areas of your life. So for those that might have been working, if we've got any mature people that are here and they've been in work or they've been furloughed, then that might have an effect on the housing situation, on the family. There have been a tremendous increase on things like domestic violence. So all of these things we could be dealing with. We try and help people with their employment rights and obviously with things like money advice help, and also looking at financial capability, which is about being able to prevent yourself getting into debt. Disability, just to say to you that we take everybody, and anybody that is disabled, they might not necessarily feel comfortable, you know, getting back into employment, or they may be looking for opportunities to actually work with us or to increase their skill, knowledge and base before going into employment. At the recruitment stage, that's very much part of what we would need to know. If there's any specialist equipment that you'd need, whether it's software, equipment, or whether there's anything to do with your time, your flexibility. If you're on medication, what's the best part of the day for you to work with us? So there's lots of things that we have to take on board, because actually we're all humans and we all need to be able to, you know, to help each other. Now, I'm going to go into some of the roles here just to give the broad brush about what is available. I've mentioned our advice role, and this is particularly about the broad range and the complicated issues that can come into our bureau. So anybody that comes along, you know, particularly the public, if they don't know us, they're going to be maybe a little bit distrusting. They probably think that we're part of the government, and they're a bit wary about whether we're going to share information outside. Just to say, we can't do. We're absolutely tied. Everything's bolted down, what we can and what we can't do. The client can give us permission to represent them. They can give us permission to signpost or to share their information with outside agencies. And that's something that we have to formally record when we're first dealing with clients. So the examples that we've got here, maybe helping client with debts to work out reasonable amount to pay back. I mean, we are very much in a credit card times, and particularly when we're going through COVID, there may be things where people are relying on their credit cards an awful lot more. But there are lots of steps that have been put in place during COVID, and it's important to say that some people have been able to benefit from payment holidays during this time and on mortgages. And we know there's a day of reckoning. In the next month or two, we are expecting a tidal wave of inquiries coming through for those people that are experiencing serious debts and they need help. They need our help to be able to work out how much they can pay back and effectively deal with the source of the debts that they've got. And, you know, it is a free service. This isn't something that we charge for. We're monitored by the Financial Services Authority. So it's really important that we get it right. Another side of it it might not be about debts, but exploring what benefits a client is entitled to. And that might be part of the solution, you know, particularly where people mightn't be working, and it gives us a realistic picture of what money is coming in, and we can help with the completion of any benefit application forms. It's important to sort of emphasise what your commitment would be. As a law student, then you need to be training to advice, but you'll go through the assessor role first of all, and I'll move on to that in a minute. 8 hours a week spread over 1 or 2 days for 12 months will see you trained as an advisor. It's not a thing you can expect to be trained and be competent in a short period of time. However, what you will learn in the process of that, the experience and the knowledge and the skills that you will gain are more than, you know, enough. So have a little think about that. The other role that I'm talking about is the assessor role. And again, this is contact over the phone, face to face, although face to face, you know, is on hold currently at the moment. And this is more about being a triage service to the clients and being able to effectively identify any urgent situations so that the client can be passed on to somebody who is more specialised in that particular field and can help them with that particular problem. We can also look up information, whether, you know, it's on our public site, which is the Citizens Advice website, or we also have another fabulous information source that our advisors use, and that's about 40,000 pages of information. You're not expected to remember everything. What you are expected to do is to go through the training and know where to look for the information, and it is relatively straightforward. If it weren't, then we wouldn't have the number of people that would volunteer with the organisation that we currently do. So what does an assessor do? It finds out information online, explains how to apply, for example, for housing benefits in a client's local area and explain it to them, or to help a client with any rent arrears that they have. The time commitment for the assessor is slightly less. I would actually say probably you're looking at between 4 and 6 hours per week over 1 or 2 days for a 6-month period. And during that time, you will become competent. If you're not actually providing the service, we can't second guess that you're competent, because this is about being able to prove that you put those skills into full use and you can help the public. Again, flexibility, you know, is important. We have a few little things on the side, if you haven't already noticed as I'm talking, what's in it for you. My biggest gambit is, you know what you want to do, and the best that you can do is talk to me and say what it is that you want. Because if you're not actually focused on what you're wanting to get out of the organisation and it's not happening, you're not going to stay with us. And likewise, we want you to be able to do the things that we need you to do. You know, the things that are predetermined, and through our experience over the years, we know what our clients want and we know the level of service that we need to be able to provide, you know, for our clients. I'm going to mention the digital information assistance, which I touched on a little bit earlier, and this is for helping people who come into our centres. We do have a centre that is over in Skelmersdale. The problems that we have with some of our bureaus currently is the size of the bureau and how we keep the bureaus sufficiently clean, so there's no risks, first of all, to the public, but more importantly to our volunteers. So at this moment, we haven't got anything that we can offer, simply because it would take a lot of clearing up, and it just would not be practicable. Plus the fact where we're located in Skelmersdale, it's part of a shopping centre, and I suspect that there will only be a small amount of shops that will be available, if any, within that locality. But again, if it's something you want to think about, have a word with me and I'll give it to you and I'll explain to you, the best way that I can. We have other positions that are available, and I'm not going to go to them, in tremendous depth, because we have so many factors that we need to figure into the services that we provide. And I did mention earlier about how we capture information about unfair practices that are available. And so therefore there are other things that we can talk about depending on what really suits you, as an individual. We will consider having ex-offenders. We have a policy that is available, and we need to know that any ex-offenders are treated fairly. Any of them with a caution or conviction for a sexual offence against a child or a vulnerable adult is considered unsuitable. That's one of the few things that we can say. So, from my own point of view, most things that we have, most people that come forward, they are wanting to engage with the public and help them. And as long as there's nothing that suddenly becomes a barrier, and a serious barrier, we will consider anybody that comes forward to volunteer with us. Expenses, I've mentioned about £5 per day, so that you're not drastically out of pocket if you have to come across to it. I think that some of the volunteers, we've had a really good relationship with the university, and some of the volunteers that have come with us, they've said it's cheaper to get a weekly pass or whatever, and we will take that into consideration when it comes to reimbursing expenses. That's looked at on a one-by-one basis. Benefits. Now, again, this probably isn't anything that you need to know, but if you're volunteering, how will it affect any benefits that you received? You may need to notify any provider of the benefit about volunteering, but we do have people that work with us that are currently claiming benefits, at the moment. So, that probably from my side is all that I have to say. There's a lot to take on board. There may be lots of questions that you have. And amongst those questions, you want to know, well, am I suitable? Starting out at a young age, the world is ahead of you and you don't know where you're going to end up when it comes to the job that you end up doing. At the moment, you're on a path by the fact that you're at university, but the career is also about how you use your skills. There's a lot of fun to be had. It's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. And really, that's basically all that I have to say to you. Now, I don't know if there's anything, if there are any questions that have come on board. Helen, has there been anything that has come as part of the chat?
Hi, Maria. Thank you very much. That was a really comprehensive presentation. We haven't got any questions at the moment in chat. So what I would suggest, if